Get ready, Staten Island. It's time to celebrate 5 years of Ferry Hawks baseball. Join us Friday, April 24th through Sunday, April 26th for our first homestand of the season and our 5th anniversary celebration. Score big with $5 tickets. Grab $5 domestic draft beers. Enjoy $5 popcorn. And yes, 2 Nathan's hot dogs for just $5. Visit ferryhawks.com now to lock in your seats.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi!
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Harmeet Dhillon, who is one of my favorite people in D.C., and I mean that sincerely. I'm not patronizing her. She's amazing. She happens to run the civil court division of the DOJ. I guess she's Blanche's partner right now. But I know there's a lot of talk about somebody replacing Blanche. He's supposed to be interim since Pam Bondi was asked to leave. And a lot of names are being bandied about, including Lee Zeldin. I love Lee. But I would put Harmeet Dhillon in that position if I was President Trump. But he hasn't asked me, so. But if he does, Harmeet, I'm going to suggest that you get that job, just so you know. Do you want it?
That's very kind, Sid. Thank you.
I mean it. You're terrific, and you're fighting so many important things for us in this country, from anti-Semitism with this mayor in New York, we'll get to that, to voter integrity, which is so important. That was a great conversation with Maria, and I was taken aback by some of those numbers. 350,000 dead people that are still voting, 25,000 non-citizens. Those are accurate numbers, yes?
Well, the thing I want to really drive home on the numbers that I mentioned is that those are from the states that are opening their books to us and voluntarily complying or reaching rapid settlements. In other words, those are the states who probably feel like they have nothing to hide and they want their voter rolls to be cleaned, okay? Now, imagine, Sid, what the voter rolls look like in California, in Illinois, in New York, in New Jersey, and some of these states. So those are the states that are fighting me in court, and I can promise you those numbers are even worse. And we know in California that Judicial Watch reached a settlement with them in 2017, over 1 million people being on the voter rolls who shouldn't have been, died, moved, whatever, in Los Angeles County alone. So these are staggering numbers, and we're going to end up finding millions of people on the rolls who shouldn't have been. Now, that doesn't mean millions of people voted, but the margins in some of our elections, Sid, are very narrow. I mean, the 2020 election was really decided by a handful of counties and about 60,000 votes in those counties. And so, this is shocking, and we have to put an end to it.
Yeah, President Trump, of course, still makes the point that he's won 3 consecutive elections, and they basically destroyed Rudy Giuliani's life over this because he went to court and fought that and said, I have information in states like Pennsylvania that prove that there was some, at the very least, chicanery going on. People got very, very angry. I mean, radio stations told their talent, don't talk about it, it wasn't rigged. But now that we're 6 years later, and you're still dealing with this nonsense suing 29 states, Harmeet, it's not ridiculous to think that maybe it was rigged 6 years ago, or is it?
Well, look, I mean, rigged is a word that has a very loaded meaning, and I would say that by design, Democrat states and Democrat attorneys general have wanted our voter rolls to be bloated. And prior administrations have gone to court to prevent states from cleaning up their voter rolls and taking people off who haven't voted in several elections or have moved or whatever. They try to make it very difficult for states to comply with the law. And that, I think, is by design. They want as many ballots floating around in this mail balloting scheme as possible. Frankly, a lot of red states went along with it. Unfortunately, they find it more convenient to just mail out these ballots without verifying whether people who are getting the ballots are entitled to vote them. I think we have massive fraud problems, and you can even just connect the dots by looking at some of the work that the Nick Shirleys and others have done, and see that there's all these NGOs out there. They're awash with federal and state funding, They set up these fake businesses. You have people who are uncovering addresses like warehouses and boarded up buildings where hundreds of people are registered to vote. So this is actually very disturbing. And, doing the work to unpack and see exactly who voted and bring those prosecutions is something that the Department of Justice is trying to do. But it's painstaking, and we have so many different priorities. So I think one of the easiest and best things that we can do here is stop the fraud opportunities by making sure our voter rolls are clean. And that is what I'm doing in this project. And, we're going to court to defend our positions. And, we have probably 3 different appellate arguments coming up in the next short time here to clean up the rolls.
I know that there's a Detroit area that you guys are focusing on right now, 2024 ballots. A lot of my friends, anytime a Democrat wins any election, any election, they go, they cheated. I go, will you stop it? Some of my friends think Mamdani cheated, for example, that they flew in all these Muslim people from other countries, and that's how he won. They voted for him. I don't think that's the case. I know that I spoke to a lot of young New Yorkers, American New Yorkers, living in Williamsburg, living on the Upper East Side, and they were enthusiastic about Mamdani, not Cuomo, not Adams, not Sliwa, Mamdani. So I'm starting to think that they're all conspiracy theorists, but then again, when you do reports like this, maybe they're not.
Yeah, look, the Mamdani situation is different. That is literally, New Yorkers voting in their own suicide pact. And I think that, he bamboozled a lot of people. And now we're reaping the results there in New York. I love New York, and it's just insane what's happening over there. But it's happening in other jurisdictions, too. And it's a multi-level problem, Sid. You also have these blue state district attorneys in states and cities like Philadelphia and other places like that who are just enabling a lot of this behavior by illegal aliens or threatening ICE. And so the takeover of our cities is a real problem, and voting is just one way it happens. People not voting is another way it happens. And so Americans, if they don't like what they're seeing around them, they should get activated and get out there and make sure their vote is known.
I think you're right. You just mentioned Mamdani, and of course, he does a lot of things wrong here, Harmeet. Obviously, the anti-Semitism is the one that everybody goes to first, and if, God forbid, you're a Jew like me and you go there, then all you care about are the Jews in Israel. That's not true. I bash him on a variety of other topics, from taxes to anti-cop. I hate the fact that he's so anti-cop. But moving outside New York, it looks like you guys, Harmeet, the DOJ, you are announcing some settlement to combat anti-Semitism in a Massachusetts school district. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a Concord, Massachusetts settlement that we just concluded last week. And for a period of years, the school district was allowing students to harass Jews. There were swastikas painted everywhere. The word Jew was used as a slur and painted in different places. And despite complaints, they just let this go on. So this administration in March last year opened up a federal civil rights investigation, and we concluded it with a settlement with the school district. And so, they've acknowledged that this stuff happened, and they're going to agree to do their jobs as required under federal law to prevent the harassment of any students in their school district on the basis of their religion, in this case, Jewish students. And so, we're, of course, Sid, I've reached many settlements on behalf of the President of the United States against American universities. We have cases ongoing. There's a big case against Harvard, also right there in Massachusetts, for their anti-Semitic behavior that they allowed to flourish on that campus and terrorize Jewish students and prevent them from going to school. I have never seen this kind of an epidemic of anti-Semitism in my life. You know better than me what's happening there in New York. Yep. And, you have a mayor who's perpetuating some of these gross stereotypes about Jews. And so I think we really have to all stand together. This is not a Jewish problem. This is an American problem. And this Department of Justice takes it very seriously.
God, I'm so glad you said all that. I really want you to get that job. I love you, Harmeet. I do. And now you know my frustration when this mayor puts Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in the same sentence. And by the way, the last mayor did some of that too. They try to find a way to equivocate. It's almost like when you talk about, listen, 24% of the population is black, but they commit about 58% of the crime, so you must add white supremacy just to kind of even things out. This mayor does that in New York City every day with Islamophobia. And I'm going to ask you, as a woman that runs the Civil Rights Department of the DOJ, Does Islamophobia really exist in this country? Because I don't think it does.
Well, look, there may be incidents of it, sure. I do think that, our job is to protect the rights of all people of faith in this country. But what I am seeing empirically right now vis-a-vis attacks on people on their faith is Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and Jewish students and Jewish people are the victims right now of these types of attacks. And so, if I see it happening against other communities, of course, we'll step in to investigate it. I'm not being besieged by complaints about Islamophobia or other types of discrimination at the DOJ. I am being besieged by them in these other areas. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of attention, but we've prosecuted numerous attacks on churches as well. There's this anti-Christian, anti-Semitic wave happening in this country, and we got to nip it in the bud. This is a country that was established and built on faith, and we must cherish and protect that as much as possible.